Imagine you save all year for a dream vacation, but instead of enjoying beaches, monuments, and nightlife, you're explaining yourself to police in a language you don't understand. That's exactly what has happened to countless American tourists who didn't realize that what's normal in the US could be a serious crime abroad. Today, we'll uncover 33 dumb mistakes American tourists make that could actually get them locked up overseas. Some of these are so simple you'll wonder, how could anyone be so careless? Yet, they happen all the time. Stick around to the very end because number 30 is the one mistake that could completely ruin your life. 1. Chewing gum in Singapore. In America, chewing gum is second nature. People pop a stick before a meeting, after a meal, or just out of boredom. But in Singapore, gum isn't just frowned upon, it's outright banned. The law was introduced in 1992 after gum was being stuck on trains, in keyholes, and across public spaces, causing expensive cleanups. Americans who casually chew and spit gum can be fined thousands of dollars. Repeat offenders risk imprisonment. One U.S. teenager famously made headlines in the 90s for vandalizing with gum and faced the terrifying prospect of caning. Imagine telling your family you're in jail, not for drugs or theft, but for double mint gum. 2. Feeding pigeons in Venice. The romantic scene of tossing breadcrumbs to pigeons in Venice's St. Mark's Square has been immortalized in old travel books and movies. But the reality today is very different. The city banned pigeon feeding in 2008 because droppings were corroding priceless marble statues and damaging centuries-old architecture. Yet, some Americans, still clinging to the postcard image, break the rule. The result? Tourists have been slapped with fines up to 500 euros. And if someone refuses to comply or argues with authorities, the situation can escalate into a legal mess. Feeding pigeons isn't charming anymore, it's literally a crime. 3. Taking selfies with Buddhist statues. Thailand, Cambodia, and other Buddhist nations are home to stunning temples. But here's where tourists cross the line, posing with their back to Buddha statues, climbing them, or worse, making silly faces in selfies. In Buddhist culture, this is considered highly disrespectful. Americans who treat it like a theme park attraction have been detained for disrespecting religion. In Thailand, some travelers have been deported for it. What's shocking is that these people aren't malicious, they're just ignorant. But ignorance won't save you when the police arrive at the temple gates. 4. Littering in Japan. In Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto, you'll notice something missing: trash cans. Yet, streets are spotless. That's because littering is not just a social taboo, it's a punishable offense. Japanese law treats public cleanliness with seriousness, and fines can be hefty. Americans used to tossing fast food wrappers out the car window or dropping gum on the ground get a rude awakening. Police have fined, and in some cases detained, tourists for littering in busy areas. What's worse, locals will glare at you like you just cursed at their grandmother. Respecting the streets isn't optional, it's mandatory. 5. Jaywalking in Germany. In the US, jaywalking is technically illegal but rarely enforced. In Germany, though, it's different. Even if no car is coming, locals wait at the crosswalk until the light turns green. Americans who cross early often find themselves being scolded by locals, sometimes in front of children. But it's more than embarrassment. Police issue fines and can escalate charges if you argue. In one case, an American who darted across a Berlin street was detained for reckless endangerment, all over a shortcut that saved him 10 seconds. 6. Complaining about tap water in Mexico. Many Americans are shocked when they realize tap water in Mexico isn't always drinkable. While complaining is one thing, some tourists go further, trespassing into restricted areas, breaking into hotel kitchens, or demanding bottled water from places where it isn't offered. In some cases, their behavior borders on disorderly conduct. While it might not always land you in jail, it has in certain states where disrespect towards staff escalated into police involvement. It's not the water that gets you in trouble, it's the entitled reaction. 7. Graffiti on ancient sites. The Colosseum, Machu Picchu, the pyramids of Giza, these are treasures of human civilization. Yet, every year, American tourists are caught scratching initials, spray painting names, or carving hearts into ancient stone. In 2023, a U.S. tourist was arrested for carving his girlfriend's name into the Colosseum wall. Italy charged him with vandalism of cultural heritage, a crime that carries prison time. For locals, this isn't just disrespect, it's destruction of their history. And trust me, Italian judges don't find "I didn't know" funny.
8. Wearing swimwear in non-beach areas.
Barcelona and other Mediterranean cities have cracked down on tourists who wander into shops, restaurants, or historic centers in bikinis or shirtless. What feels normal in Miami is seen as indecent exposure in Spain. Americans strutting down streets half-dressed have been fined and, in some cases, detained for refusing to comply. Imagine explaining to your friends back home that you got arrested not for wild partying, but for wearing a swimsuit to a cafe. 9. Taking rocks or sand from beaches. For Americans, taking seashells or rocks home is a harmless souvenir. But in countries like Italy, especially Sardinia, it's illegal. The beaches are protected, and removing natural items damages the ecosystem. Tourists have been caught at airports with jars of sand and charged with theft of natural resources. Some have even faced jail. Customs officers don't laugh when you say, "It's just a rock." 10. Public kissing in the Middle East. What's sweet in New York can be scandalous in Dubai. In conservative Middle Eastern nations, public displays of affection are treated as public indecency. Americans kissing in malls, on the beach, or even hugging too affectionately have been arrested. In 2010, a British couple was jailed in Dubai for kissing on the mouth in public. Americans have faced similar punishments. The rule is simple: what's romantic at home is a crime abroad. 11. Flying drones without permission. Drone shots look amazing in travel vlogs. But in countries like Morocco, Turkey, and even parts of France, drones are banned or require special permits. Tourists who launch drones near airports, military bases, or historic monuments have been arrested on suspicion of espionage. Americans often assume it's just for YouTube, but authorities see it as a security risk. Some drones have been confiscated and their operators jailed. 12. Flashing the peace sign the wrong way. Americans throw up peace signs casually in selfies. But in the UK, Ireland, and Australia, holding the sign backward is equivalent to flipping someone off. Tourists doing it in front of police, bus drivers, or locals have caused major offense. While you won't always get jailed for a rude hand gesture, disrespecting authority with it, like flashing it at an officer, can lead to arrest for disorderly conduct. 13. Carrying prescription drugs without paperwork. That anxiety pill or ADHD medication you carry legally in the US? In Japan, Saudi Arabia, or the UAE, it might be classified as a controlled substance. Americans have been detained at airports for carrying meds without proper documentation. Some even face drug trafficking charges. One US teacher spent weeks in a Japanese jail over what she thought was harmless cold medicine. In these places, even a small pill bottle can change your entire trip. 14. Photographing government buildings. Tourists love snapping photos of everything. But in Russia, China, or Egypt, taking pictures of police stations, airports, or military bases can land you in prison for spying. In 2019, an American tourist was detained in Egypt for photographing military checkpoints. He claimed he was just sightseeing. Authorities weren't convinced. The lesson? Not everything is Instagram-worthy. 15. Forgetting to carry ID. In the US, people often leave IDs at home. In countries like China, however, you're legally required to carry identification at all times. Americans who refuse or don't comply when stopped by police can be detained until their identity is verified. In some cases, tourists have spent hours or days in custody because their passports were back at the hotel. 16. Feeding stray cats or dogs. Americans love animals, and when they see stray cats in Greece or dogs wandering in Turkey, the instinct is to feed them. While it seems kind-hearted, In many cities, it's against public health laws. The problem? Feeding strays encourages large groups of animals to gather, leading to disease risks. Authorities in Athens and Istanbul have fined tourists for feeding animals near historical landmarks. In some rural towns, ignoring the rule has even led to detention. What starts as a cute tourist moment can quickly spiral into an encounter with animal control officers and the police. 17. Using the left hand in the wrong places. Most Americans are unaware that in countries like India, Sri Lanka, or parts of the Middle East, the left hand is traditionally considered unclean. Using it to eat, shake hands, or pass money is deeply offensive. Some tourists have found themselves in heated arguments with vendors after paying with the left hand. While you're unlikely to be jailed for rudeness alone, if the situation escalates, say you insult or push back against authority, you could easily face charges for disturbing the peace. It's a cultural trap that many clueless travelers walk straight into. 18. Mocking the monarchy. In Thailand, it's a serious crime to insult or mock the royal family, called lèse-majesté. This law is no joke. Even tearing a banknote with the king's face on it can lead to years in prison. Some American tourists, thinking they're being funny, have made sarcastic comments about portraits of the king. Others have posted memes online during their trip. Police don't shrug it off, they investigate. A few foreigners have spent months in jail awaiting trial, all for what they thought was a harmless joke. 19. Tossing coins in the wrong fountains. Tossing coins into Rome's Trevi Fountain is a beloved tradition, but not every fountain is fair game. In fact, tossing coins into random fountains or historic wells is considered vandalism. In Florence, American tourists have been arrested for throwing coins into protected Renaissance fountains. Authorities see it not as a wish, but as damage to cultural heritage. One tourist in 2018 was fined thousands of euros and detained after repeatedly ignoring warnings. So while the Trevi Fountain welcomes coins, other landmarks absolutely do not. 20. Eating or drinking on public transport. In New York, munching chips on the subway is nothing unusual. But in Japan, Singapore, or even Germany, eating or drinking on trains is banned. In Singapore especially, the laws are strict. Eating on the MRT system can lead to fines and possible jail time if you refuse to comply. In Japan, it's not just illegal, it's seen as incredibly rude. Tourists caught sipping soda or chewing loudly have been fined and escorted off trains. That $2 snack could end up costing you a night in custody. 21. Gambling where it's forbidden. Las Vegas culture doesn't translate everywhere. In countries where gambling is banned, like much of the Middle East, even playing poker for money at a hotel can land you in prison. In Dubai, several Americans were arrested in 2019 for running a casual poker game in a rented apartment. They thought it was harmless fun. Authorities saw it as illegal gambling. Other countries, like Cambodia or Singapore, allow gambling only in licensed casinos. Breaking that rule is treated very seriously. 22. Taking cultural artifacts home. Tourists often try to sneak home souvenirs from ancient sites, broken pottery, small stones, even pieces of mosaic tiles. But in places like Greece, Italy, and Egypt, that's considered theft of cultural property. In 2018, 2 Americans were arrested in Pompeii for pocketing bits of Roman ruins. They claimed they didn't know. That excuse doesn't work. Local authorities treat these cases as cultural crimes, and prison sentences are very real. 23. Disrespecting religious sites. From cathedrals in France to mosques in Morocco, religious sites require respect. Yet tourists sometimes walk in wearing shorts, tank tops, or even bikinis. Others take silly selfies inside sacred areas. In some cases, Americans have been caught climbing altars for photos. This isn't just bad manners, it can be illegal. In Egypt, 2 tourists were arrested for posing semi-nude inside a temple. In Turkey, disruptive behavior inside mosques can lead to jail time. These sites are living places of worship, not Instagram backdrops. 24. Buying illegal souvenirs. Exotic souvenirs tempt tourists everywhere. But many items, like ivory carvings in Africa, coral jewelry in Asia, or animal skins in South America, are banned under international law. Americans often buy them thinking they're supporting local culture. At the airport, customs officers see it differently. It's smuggling. In one case, a U.S. couple returning from Thailand was detained for carrying bags of coral and turtle shells. Not only did they face jail abroad, but heavy fines back home under U.S. law. That authentic souvenir could destroy your vacation and your bank account. 25. Smoking in restricted areas. While smoking in public is common in the U.S., Bhutan has gone the opposite direction. It banned public smoking entirely. Bringing cigarettes into the country without declaring them can lead to prison time. Even in Japan, smoking is restricted to designated zones. Tourists lighting up in parks, streets, or temples have been arrested. One American man in Bhutan reportedly spent weeks in jail for carrying cigarettes without proper tax stamps. Lighting up casually isn't just rude, it's a crime in many places. 26. Touching people without permission. Americans are known for their friendliness, hugging strangers, patting people on the back, shaking hands firmly. But in many cultures, that level of physical contact is not welcome. In conservative nations, touching a member of the opposite sex who isn't family can be seen as harassment or even assault. In India, for example, a hug given to the wrong person can escalate quickly into a police matter. A few American tourists have been jailed after misreading social cues and touching people inappropriately, even unintentionally. 27. Trespassing for photos. Tourists often go to extreme lengths for the perfect Instagram shot. Some climb rooftops in Paris. Others sneak into closed temples in Cambodia. But trespassing abroad isn't treated lightly. It can lead to prison time. In 2017, 2 Americans were arrested in Thailand for sneaking into a restricted temple area at night. They thought they were adventurous photographers. Authorities charged them with trespassing on sacred ground. In foreign countries, private and sacred spaces are heavily protected, and excuses rarely work. 28. Drinking in public where it's banned. In the U.S., open container laws vary by state, but Americans often assume drinking in public is fine abroad. In Dubai, however, drinking outside licensed bars or hotels is a crime. Several Americans have been arrested for carrying beers on the street. In Japan, while technically legal, drinking in certain public areas during festivals can still cause legal trouble if disorderly behavior follows. What feels like harmless fun on vacation could quickly turn into a charge for public intoxication, or worse. 29. Driving without an international license. Renting scooters in Thailand, Vespas in Italy, or cars in Greece is popular among American tourists. But many don't realize they need an international driving permit. Without it, accidents or police stops can lead to arrest. In Italy, one American couple spent 2 nights in jail after being pulled over without the proper documents. Insurance doesn't cover you either if you're unlicensed. That spontaneous scooter ride along the Amalfi Coast could end in handcuffs instead of sunset views. 30. Touching wildlife. Petting monkeys in Bali or holding sea turtles in Costa Rica seems like fun. But in most countries, disturbing wildlife is illegal. In Thailand, Americans have been arrested for trying to take selfies while holding protected animals like slow lorises. In Costa Rica, tourists who lifted sea turtle hatchlings for photos were fined and detained. Beyond legality, it's dangerous for both humans and animals. Yet Americans continue treating wildlife like Disney props, only to end up in court. 31. Ignoring curfews. During political unrest or emergencies, many countries enforce strict curfews. In Egypt during 2013, Americans who ignored curfews found themselves detained by police for being outside after dark. In smaller towns across Africa and Asia, curfews exist for local safety, not just politics. But Americans often assume that's not for tourists. Wrong. Police don't make exceptions. Being caught outside during restricted hours can result in jail, even if you were just buying food. 32. Swearing in public. Dropping F-bombs casually is normal for many Americans. But in countries like Australia, the UK, and especially the UAE, public swearing is treated as disorderly conduct, or worse, indecent language laws. Several tourists in Dubai were arrested for cursing at taxi drivers or shouting profanity in bars. One American man spent 3 weeks in jail in 2016 after swearing loudly during an argument. What feels like normal venting at home can easily be criminal abroad. 33. Overstaying a visa. And here's the big one, the mistake that ruins countless vacations. Overstaying your visa. Many Americans forget to check visa rules or assume their passport allows them to stay as long as they want. In Europe's Schengen zone, the rule is 90 days max. Stay 1 day longer and you're breaking the law. Tourists have been jailed, banned from returning, or heavily fined. In some Asian countries, overstaying even a week can mean detention and deportation. Forgetting your return date isn't just careless, it can brand you a criminal. And there you have it, 33 of the dumbest mistakes American tourists make that can actually land them in prison abroad. Some of these sound unbelievable, but they're all real laws and real cases. The takeaway? Never assume what's normal in America is acceptable everywhere else. Do your homework before you travel. Because trust me, you don't want to spend your vacation explaining yourself to a foreign judge. If you found this video eye-opening, make sure to hit that like button, share it with your travel buddies, and subscribe for more shocking travel stories and guides. And I want to know, what's the wildest tourist mistake you've ever seen? Drop it in the comments, I'll be reading them all. Until next time, safe travels and stay out of trouble.